Guys, I'm at 64 Josh, and I've got Drubus. Is that the name I should use?
Yeah, it's Trubus is good.
Okay, cool. And tell me what podcast you do.
All right, so my close friend and I just recently started a podcast, and we are called the Neighborhood Overwatchers. It is a fantasy Overwatch League podcast.
Can you explain that a little bit on how it works?
All right, so a lot of people are familiar with fantasy football. During the football season, you get together with a group of friends or family or coworkers, and you have a draft. You pick different players from different teams who throughout the season are going to put up statistics like touchdowns and yards and interceptions and all those type of things, and they earn you different points throughout the year, and throughout the week you have a matchup against somebody else. And what we are doing is we have been very interested in the Overwatch League, both because we play and just because we like to watch it. So we found an app called Draft Buff that does fantasy Overwatch League, and it's not nearly as big as fantasy football is. So we thought, that's kind of a market that's not really being talked about right now. So we started a podcast talking about, analyzing stats and different players, just like you might listen to a fantasy football podcast.
Okay, very cool. So you hit me up and you were like, "Hey, I've got some questions about creating the show," and I was like, "Hey, let me get you on a call so that I can answer these questions because these are questions I get often, and that way, I can send people to this video hopefully once I get these questions again." So go ahead and hit me with your first question.
All right, cool. The first question has to do with audio. So far, my partner and I are not recording in the same room, much like when you record the Nintendo Powercast, you're not in the same room. So we have been using Anchor, which is an app that you can both log on to and record live at the same time, and then you can also edit with it. I was As I've had more time during quarantine, however, I've kind of been wanting to be able to do that on the computer a little bit more, and I was wondering what you use to record your voice live when you're by yourself and when you have, player two, player three, or player four on there too.
Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you how I do it, and then I'm gonna tell you another way to do it if you don't have access to the hardware I have. So
Okay.
I use a Focusrite 2i2. I'll put a link to it in the description. Okay, and it is a USB DAW that allows me to. What I do is I put channel one is my microphone that I'm talking into right now, and channel two is my headphone out of my computer and into the Focusrite. So then when I open up GarageBand, channel one is my microphone and channel two is everyone else. So that's how I
Mm,
capture audio,
okay.
is with the Focusrite 2i2. It's about a $150 piece of equipment, and you can't use USB mics with it. That's something to keep in mind. You have to buy XLR microphones. So
Hmm.
it's just another just something to keep in mind, because I've had people that are like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this thing," and then they're like, "But I have the Yeti." I'm like, "Yeah, it won't work. You can't have two USB sources in, uh, at least with GarageBand, and I'm sure it's probably true with most other, you know,
But
um,
that's nice that you don't have to buy an application too. You could still just use GarageBand.
correct. Now, the if I didn't have this tool and I was wanting to start and I wanted to have access to the audio, this is how I would do it. I would open up OBS, which is free. Okay. I would then record the conversation with my co-host or my guests, similar to how I'm doing right now, as
Hmm.
we're talking. And then I would go to a website that's called aphonic.com. Now I go to aphonic.com anyway with my audio because it levelizes everything, takes out noise, background noise, things like that. It also brings it to radio level quality or volume, right? Radio level volume. And you set it to like negative 16 LUFS. That's like podcast. Some songs like on Spotify are as high as negative 14, but that's also pretty loud. So For all my podcasts, I do -16. When I did my audiobook, it was -16. I output at 192 hertz so that it's just a higher quality sound. All right. And then you can actually take the video to Auphonic, drop the video in, and it will spit back out the MP4, which includes the audio, and the MP3. I would then download that MP3 and upload it to Podbean, which is the podcast there. That's where I host all my shows, right? And that can all happen without having to have my guest download or send me their audio, right? I can have their audio just by using OBS and then putting it in Auphonic. Now, the thing with Auphonic is you get 2 hours a month free. And then after that, it's like $11 for 9 more hours. So depending on how many videos you're putting out, you just want to keep that in mind, or how many shows you're putting out. So
cool. That sounds good.
Yeah. And again, that's just with OBS, which I think is going to tie into your next question also, right?
Yes, it is. Because the next thing, we have, for all intents and purposes, through our phones and through an app, conquered the audio problem, at least, for the time being, to get off the ground. But we have not done anything at all with video recording. I know less about video editing. I know almost nothing about what to do when it comes to, first question, actually, do you go back and you edit video when you're recording live, or live shows just kind of, that's just, that's a live show, right?
Yep. I do. I add my effects and my sound effects and everything while we're doing it live, so I don't go back and edit anything. I just put it up as is. If we're just doing like a live podcast, that's what goes out. That's how the video goes out. That's also how the audio goes out.
Okay, so why don't you go into, again, like you're about to, with the software and your hardware and everything.
So yeah, perfect. The Discord is what I use for the video and audio, right? And then with OBS, I have a 2-monitor setup, so I do a display capture, and then I capture the Discord display of whoever is going to be on the show with me, right? And then within OBS, I would do display capture 1. That would be for let's say for crawler, and then display capture 2 would be for hey, and I can just grab different parts on the screen so that I can move their video over into OBS. And by using like the shift key and the option key, it allows me to manipulate the size of their video in OBS. That's how I'm able to put them into those switch screens like I have them when we go live into my overlay. And so that is, and then again, that catches the audio, that catches the video, and it allows me to then push that to Twitch and do the show live. I got to say hey to what's up, Jay, in the chat. We're just doing a quick little Q&A about podcasting right now. So, so does that answer your question? Does that help?
That does, man. That's super helpful. I want to thank you for taking the time to answer. It's very much appreciate it.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
I'm probably going to come bother you in like a month or so to ask you about social media stuff. Once I get a little bit more, hands-on with it myself, I'll have some more like finite questions I'd like to ask you about social media, but nothing yet. I'll report back.
Got it. Well, here's the thing. Use TikTok even right now. Start talking about your show. Start talking about Overwatch. Use the right hashtags. I know you're like, what? I'm too old for TikTok. You're not. Just get on there. You will have more traction and have more views on your content than any other place right now. So don't sleep on it.
Okay. Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah. Get after it. And good luck.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Later, man.
Guys, if you have any questions, comments, anything, let me know down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye now.